Hello, traders. FX Pip Collector here. Today is Monday, March 3rd, and this is my morning video where we take a look at the US dollar pairs, including gold, and we also take a look at a couple of the JPY pairs. If you have not done so already, definitely check out my free Discord trading community, linked at the end of the video in the corner and in the description of the video. If you'd like to check out my website, it's fxpipcollector.com. Get you access to all the benefits listed below and more. So, anyways, first thing I like to do, especially in the morning, is make sure that I'm aware of any news events that may be coming out in the day. Now, normally Monday is a pretty slow day, but we do have some pretty important news events coming out this afternoon in the New York session. We got the IMS manufacturing news coming out today between 2:45 and 3 o'clock. This is definitely something that can move the market, so definitely be aware of that. Also, be aware that Trump does talk most days, and he probably will be on the calendar before the day is over. So definitely be aware of any speeches that Trump may be giving throughout the day also. So anyways, I always like to start off on the US dollar index because if I know what the dollar index is basically doing, then I basically know what direction I should be trading on all the US dollar pairs. We made this huge impulsive move up last week. We made a nice break of structure. This really cannot be in 1, 2, 3 to the downside anymore. It pretty much has to be a B C correction. And I think that now we are going to make another attempt on these highs. Maybe it will not take out the high, but looking at this ABC correction, I think there's a pretty good chance that it will at least get close to making a new high, or possibly it will make a new high. So if we're going to be looking for longs on the US dollar, then we should definitely be keeping that in mind on all the US dollar pairs, potentially looking for shorts on the dollar pairs. So moving on to the euro dollar, let's zoom in a little bit. I like to zoom in quite a bit on the daily. So on the daily time frame, to me, this is definitely 1, 2, 3 waves up, and then we have a nice clear break of structure to the downside. So the fact that it made 3 waves up and it kind of made 3 waves down makes me think that this could be like an A, this could be a B, and we now likely probably going down for like a 5 waves of C. Which wave C's ABC pattern can take out the previous low, but it's probably at least going to go back down to this low and possibly even take out the previous low. So I definitely would be looking for shorts. I would assume that this move down is probably going to play out in a 5 way pattern for a 335, but it could possibly be a 333 like a WXY, which means that this would potentially be 3 waves down instead of 5 waves down. Anyways, either way, I'm definitely still primarily looking for shorts. On the shorter time frames, we did have a pretty significant gap on some of the dollar pairs, but I don't really trade based on gaps. The problem with gaps is, yes, they do get filled almost always, but do they get filled within the first couple trading days, or do they get filled within the first couple weeks, couple months? There's really no edge in saying that the market's going to fill this gap today. It may fill it today, it may fill it tomorrow, it may fill it 2 weeks from now. So as of right now, I'm not really paying any attention to the gap, but I do have my Fibonacci retracement on this move up right here. We definitely do have an impulsive move up. We definitely do have a break of structure. We have what I think is probably a pretty dang clear 5 way pattern to the downside. So I think what we happen here is we have the end of this 5 ways down. So I think there's a good chance that this is probably a wave A. This move down that we're currently seeing is probably a corrective wave B. Maybe it will go all the way down to 78% and fill the gap. Maybe it will not. Maybe it'll turn at one of these other levels. Like I said, I'm not really trading based on the gap. If I see 3 waves down, I see an impulsive move up at any one of these fib levels, then there definitely could be a long for what I would think it would be a wave C. So I think there's a good chance we're just in an ABC correction, which is probably a correction to the last 5 waves down. I have it drawn out like this, but honestly, it could just end up making a little push up and then going back down like that. So be careful with your longs. The market is definitely telling you to look for shorts on the higher time frames as of now. Moving on to the pound dollar, back up to the daily time frame. The pound dollar really is quite strong compared to a lot of the other dollar pairs. This one, I'm kind of wondering if this move down is just going to end up being a correction to the last 5 waves up, the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up. So I am definitely looking for shorts, but I am going to observe very closely to see if it makes 3 waves down to a fib level and then turns back up, or if it maintains impulsive momentum to the downside, going down and eventually breaking structure. According to the US dollar and the US dollar index, the US dollar index and the Euro US dollar, I think there is a good chance that maybe it will go down, take out the low, but probably will not go all the way down and take out this low. Either way, we're looking for shorts and we'll just watch and trade as we go. So going down to the 1 hour time frame, we got impulsive up, we got a push to the downside. I got my Fibonacci retracement on here. I'm looking for 3 waves down. I'm looking for impulsive up at any one of these Fibonacci levels to go long again. I would have to see it engulf and move to the upside at a Fibonacci level to go long. If this does make it engulf and move at this Fib level, then yeah, possibly could take it as a long. But be careful because the higher time frames did turn down. So momentum is definitely down right now. So even though I had this drawn out as possibly going up and making an ABC correction to the last 5 waves down, it may actually just end up doing just a little push and then right back down again. So for me personally, I am trading with the higher time frames, and the higher time frames are definitely telling me to look for sorts in a downtrend. Moving on to the Aussie dollar. Aussie has been very strong to the downside, very, very weak to the downside, whatever you want to call it. Now, this is kind of an odd looking pattern on the Aussie. I mean, we had a nice break of structure. Normally, you get a big pullback after a break of structure, but this looks more like a possible turn. Maybe this really is an ABC correction. Maybe it really is just going to keep on going down and make a new low. All I know is right now I'm looking for shorts unless I get a clear break of structure at a Fibonacci level to the upside, which we definitely do not have yet. So going down to the 1 hour time frame, we do definitely have a push up on the 1 hour time frame, as you can see. Nice push up, nice break of structure. Now that probably tells me that the last series of lower lows, lower highs is over. And technically, that probably is this whole move. This whole move was lower lows, lower highs. So we got our Fibonacci retracement on the whole move down. There's probably a good chance that we are going to go up to at least one of these fib levels, like the 23, 38, maybe even the 50. So if you are trading the very short time frames, you could put your Fibonacci retracement on here, and you can look at this move down as a correction to this move up, and you could be trying to go long, maybe taking it up to a fib level. I mean, I don't have a clue which fib level it would go to. It could literally just go to the 23 and then turn back down, but I do expect that this move up probably is going to be a correction to the move down on the higher time frames. So if you see 1, 2, 3 waves up to any one of these fib levels, and then you see an impulsive turn with a break of structure, then I definitely would take it as another sword to the continuation of the downtrend. So like I said, I don't know which fib level it's going to respect, but I do know if I watch closely, I should be able to tell which one it's respecting by observing my structure. So moving on to the Kiwi dollar, which is exactly the same analysis as the Aussie dollar, so I don't really analyze it. I definitely do trade it, but I trade it exactly the same as the Aussie. So moving on to the US dollar CAD. The US dollar CAD is definitely very strong to the upside. I do still have a hard time believing it's going to go all the way up and make a new high, but I mean, according to the dollar index, we should kind of assume that it definitely could. To me, now it looks very impulsive. It looks like it's a 1, 2, 3, so it's probably going to have to make a 4 and a 5, and this is probably either a wave A or wave one. Then I would expect to see a correction, probably B or two, and then I would expect to see another push up. If it's a wave C, it would probably go to a fib level and turn right back down. If it's a wave three, then it would probably bounce from fib levels, not breaking structure, and go up and make a new high. So for now, I'm definitely primarily on the long side and hopefully learning and earning at the same time, whether we're looking at a 1, 2, 3 or an ABC. Going down to the 1 hour time frame, I mean, we don't even have a break of structure on to the downside on the 1 hour. So, I mean, even if you're trading below the 1 hour, I would still be looking for logs. If we do get a nice break and hold below, then the first thing I would do is throw my Fibonacci retracement on the whole series of higher highs, higher lows. We don't even have that yet, so it could possibly just make a little pullback and just keep on going. Looking at a lot of the other dollar pairs, a lot of the other dollar pairs do look like they're due for a pullback. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it did go down a break structure. And like I said, once it does do that, or if it does do that, I would throw my Fibonacci retracement on the whole move, and I would still be looking for logs. I would just be expecting a bigger correction once we get that break of structure to the downside. So I'm kind of hoping it does break down, so that way it makes a proper ABC correction. It gives me an opportunity to go long. Probably not today, but maybe in a day or two. So going back up to the daily, switching back to the US dollar Swiss. The US dollar Swiss, I think, is very clearly a ABC correction, especially if you look at it on the weekly. It's an extremely clear 3 waves down, impulsive up at a Fibonacci level. So I'm definitely bullish, even though we haven't broken structure. I am definitely bullish because of the dollar index and because of the weekly time frame. I think that even if it does start to push down, it's probably just a correction, and I think that it's very likely over the next probably week or two to make 5 waves to the upside, probably all the way back up to at least this blue box, probably making a new high on this daily time frame. So going down to the 1 hour time frame, kind of the same deal as the US dollar CAD. If it breaks structure, the first thing I would do is I would throw my Fibonacci retracement on the whole move up. But if it doesn't break structure and it makes one, two, three ways down with a high and low and then pulse to move up, I definitely would take it as another long if I was a short time frame trader, definitely. I'm kind of hoping that it does break structure because then that would tell me the whole wave is over. And then I can throw my Fibonacci retracement on the whole wave, and then I would be looking for three waves down and a Fibonacci bounce to go long for the continuation of the uptrend, just like on the US dollar CAD. So I'm hoping this stretches out, gives us a nice break of structure, so that way we can know that we're in a correction to the last move up. Moving on to gold. So gold definitely gave us a very significant break of structure to the downside last week. I think there's a good chance that this right here is a wave four, though. Originally, I was thinking that this was a like a running ABC right here, like this is A B C, and it's just a higher high ABC. But if you look at it on the weekly time frame, it does not look like that. It looks like a one, two, three. It looks like we're in a wave four, and it needs to make a wave five. So I'm definitely more likely to believe the higher time frames always and over anything I would see on any of the lower time frames. So I think the end of the trend that we have here is actually just the end of a wave three. So that would be a one, that would be a two, this would be a wave three. That means that we're probably just in a wave four, which is important because a wave four will probably not go much below the 38 or the 50% before it goes up and makes a wave five. So that's pretty important information because that tells us that we're probably just in a correction to the last little five waves up right here. Moving down to the 1 hour time frame, it kind of almost looks to me like we need to make a wave five. Yeah, definitely looks like a possible one, two, looks like a three. It looks like this could just be a wave four. And it looks like we need to go down and make a wave five. And this is probably just a wave A of that ABC of four that I was talking about on the daily, weekly time frame. So I think there's a good chance we're probably going to make another push down. It might not even happen today. I mean, it might take all day, maybe in the next 24 hours or so, to make an ABC of four before we actually push down for a wave five. But I do think there's a pretty good odds that we are going to end up pushing down at least one more time for a wave five of wave A, which is probably a wave A of wave four. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. So moving on to the US dollar yen. So for me personally, I am definitely still bearish on all the yen pairs. To me personally, there's still no proof whatsoever that the yen is not going down, and that any move we see to the upside is nothing more than a pullback within a big downtrend. So for me, nothing has really changed on the yen pairs. Even though we have an impulsive move up on some of them, I still am assuming that this is just another pullback within a downtrend, unless we get a break of structure, which the last break of structure is way the heck up there. So I don't really think that's going to happen anytime soon. So I am definitely looking at this move up as possibly just a correction to the last push down, which is why I got my Fibonacci retracement on just the last push down. So taking it down to the 1 hour time frame, this move up to me definitely looks like a five wave trend. I mean, yeah, it's a little overlapping, but it definitely looks like a five wave trend to me, probably a wave A. Now that we do have a break of structure to the downside, I put my Fibonacci retracement from here to here. I assume that this right here is probably just a wave B. We probably are going to go back up for a wave C, which would be a crescent to the whole move down on the daily time frame. So I would expect to see something like this over the next couple of days, probably some sort of an ABC correction before we end up continuing the downtrend. So whether or not you try to get long at a Fibonacci level is kind of up to you and what time frame you do trade, or whether you just wait for the end of an ABC correction to go short again for the continuation of the downtrend. Moving on to the euro yen. I mean, for me personally, all the yen pairs are still in a downtrend on the higher roadmap time frames. There's no reason whatsoever to say that the euro yen is still not going to go down and make a big old giant wave C, which I think we're still in the middle of. So I am definitely still very bearish. We don't have any break of structure to the upside. This little teeny impulsive move up that we have is no proof whatsoever that the trend is up. It's actually not even giving us an engulfing move. So I mean, even the market flow is down because we don't even have an engulfing move to the downside. So going down to the 1 hour time frame, I mean, the first thing I would do if we broke structure is throw my fib on there. I mean, I did throw my Fibonacci retracement on there, but really, we haven't even been able to break structure on this yet. It does kind of seem to me like it should break structure because it seems like it's due for a proper correction because we have definitely a pretty decent trend right here. So it does kind of seem to me like maybe it will go up, maybe it will give us a nice ABC corrects it before it goes down. But I would be very careful. Me personally, I am definitely only looking for shorts because even though I think it could go up for an ABC, it might just go down and down and down, just like it has been. And continuing to look for shorts at the end of all these, little peaks, especially these ABC corrections, has been a very good strategy. And until we give a reason not to, I suggest that we continue to look for shorts every single chance we get. And moving on to the pound yen. Now, the pound is still quite a bit stronger than most other pairs, which is why the pound yen has actually made a little bit of a higher low. But for me, just like all the other yen pairs, there is no reason whatsoever to say that the trend is not still down and that this may not still go down, making a wave C of wave 4, making this A, B, C pattern complete from like the weekly time frame. So I'm definitely still very, very bearish on the yen pairs. This little teeny percent that we have does not prove to me that it's going up. There's no break of structure to the upside. There's no break of structure to the downside on the JPY basket. I am definitely still bullish the JPY basket, and I'm definitely still bearish every single one of these yen pairs. So moving on to the 1 hour time frame. Now it does seem to me that it definitely does seem to me that it should make a bigger pullback. We do have a little bit of a break on this one. It does kind of look like it could be an A, B, and then go up for a wave C. And whether or not you want to try to take that is definitely up to you. I mean, I draw it out like this doesn't mean it's going to play out like this. It may not make a proper ABC like this. It may just keep going down and down and down, which is why I personally am not looking for logs. But it's up to you whether you want to try to do some counter trend moves. Definitely does seem to me like it could push up to maybe the 61 and a 50% before it actually does end up continuing back down. So anyways, I hope everybody enjoyed the video. Happy Monday as always, and thank you for watching and happy trading to everyone.